In the early 1930s, America was changing. Alcatraz opened for business. President Franklin D. Roosevelt guided the United States through desperate economic times in the Great Depression. Prohibition was repealed. The Dust Bowl ruined 300 million acres of farmland across 4 states, including Colorado, and U.S. unemployment was almost 25%. Perhaps because of the bad news of the day, a young man made a decision to try something new with his life. He experimented with a new candy recipe. Popular along the Atlantic coast, taffy had become a unique treat for average people treating themselves to something special during hard times. Lowell Slack introduced his saltwater taffy recipe in Fort Collins around 1933.
He was always the gentleman. Lowell was the gentleman for the ages. When he would go out at night, and those were the days when people would come out to eat and they would wear suit and ties and this sort of thing.
A lot of the things that were store-bought, like your cutter over here and things like that, he would buy those things, but then he would fix them and keep them running.
He wasn't from the South, but if you could epitomize a Southern gentleman, it would be Lowell Slack. He had every gift and grace that a gentleman should have, and a lady was a lady, and a customer was a customer, and if you really wanted to make him mad, you ignored the customer's part.
And it got to a point where people wouldn't, they'd be wearing cowboy clothes and all this sort of thing, and casuals and all that, but Lowell always came out just dressed to the nines, coat and tie.
Mr. Slack had a real dry sense of humor, so sometimes things he would say would catch you off guard. He would say something, you'd say, well, did he mean to be that funny? Or then he just had this little twinkle in his eye, and he'd just fall out, and then he just, once he got the satisfaction of your chuckle, he'd just turn around and shuffle off to the back room, and just kind of go about his business.
Unsatisfied with just good sales, Lowell followed a friend's advice to get closer to well-off traveling Americans in the little village of Estes Park, and began selling his taffy in a corner of the curio shop located in the Pueblo building. Locals and tourists loved it. Sales exceeded his ability to keep up, so Lowell started looking for another location almost immediately. A tragic fire that consumed the Sherwood Hotel 2 doors east of the curio shop made way for electrician Jess Poling to build his contemporary Whirlpool electric appliance store on the site. That meant the now empty appliance store next to the curio shop was available to rent, so Lowell moved the taffy shop into the huge space just in time for the summer tourist season.
This is the only place to buy taffy, is what I always tell people. So yes, whenever I come up here, I have to bring taffy home.
Also, the people, it's just so much fun to be working here and see these people come in and say, oh, I came here when I was a little girl, and and that was 70 years ago.
Do you remember the first time you came here for taffy?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I remember. She wouldn't, because she was so young.
Well, I remember the first time I came. I was 5.
Probably the mid-70s.
I don't remember the exact first time, but I came with my folks in the late 40s.
Probably about 1958 or 59.
1968 was the first time we came here. In fact, we had just got married and my wife had no idea what Estes Park was. So that's how we got the taffy shop. And we've been here every summer since.
It must have been sometime in 1954.
Oh gosh, I think it was the first time we came to Estes about probably 12 years ago.
I'm 59 and I've been coming here my whole life.
We were little kids.
Probably like 3, 4 years old.
Yeah, at least.
And that's the only taffy I eat.
Yes.
Honestly.
Why would you eat any other?
Well, yeah, I tried other taffy,
Yes.
but I mean, it's just, you
It's
can't
not-
compare when you've had like fresh taffy, especially we were able to get it warm, sometimes a little piece cut off the back when it's still just fresh on that slab. Oh my gosh, you can't compare.
When you taste other people's taffy, it really is so true. There's no comparison. Yeah.
Originally, the entire candy operation was contained in the front of the store and visible from the street, but the demand for taffy forced the addition of a larger kitchen and office to the rear of the original building. What was once a small service building that housed a hand laundry was transformed into a traveler's destination in the heart of the village. The shiny aluminum taffy pulling machines in the window beckoned to travelers and their families to see marvelous saltwater taffy being made right before their eyes, with a recipe that would never be matched for its soft, kind treatment of the customer's mouth. A candy that was easy to eat and early on billed the sweetest gift in Estes Park. Proclaimed the best taffy from all of his travels by F.O. Stanley, hundreds of thousands of visitors to Estes Park would make the taffy shop their first or last stop when they visited town, many times making the trip to Estes Park just to pick up a fresh box. A popular claim even today, as Front Range visitors hold on to a decades-old family tradition of visiting the taffy shop.
Every time I come up here, I have to bring a box home for my husband.
My folks lived in Julesburg, Colorado, and so they were farmers. And after all the farming, we generally take a little trip, but it was generally up to Estes Park. I had to have some taffy, and I had to wait until the machine was always running so I could watch it, and I had to see that paper cut. I just couldn't believe how that paper was going around the taffy.
We stop here every time we're up here. We live down in Lovewood now.
Another thing we started with the taffy shop is I used to work at a place called an educational service unit, so I would bring boxes of candy back to them, probably for the last 15 years. So I'm retired now, but we're taking a box back to them.
And I live in Broomfield now. It's very few trips we come up here that I don't go home with some taffy.
Over the years, one thing has not changed. The saltwater taffy recipe that Lowell Slack perfected is just the way he made it, and later insisted it be made. Ingredients that are old-fashioned, hard to find, and the foundation of the mysteriously pleasant-to-eat candy are just part of the recipe. Blending technique and timing, an eye for perfection, and a taste for quality all play an important role to make this sweet confection as good as it is. Since the store opened, only a handful of cooks have learned the well-guarded recipe, with a commitment to maintain the taffy the way it's always been. Discriminating taffy fans know that anyone can use a taffy puller in their window as an advertising gimmick. It's what's in the kitchen that makes taffy great. From our recipe's simple beginning that was perfected to produce a light, chewy candy that would not stick to your teeth and would not wear out your jaw from hard chewing, our saltwater taffy remains a premier handmade confection which attracts new customers 80 years after it was introduced. Remaining loyal to our tradition, the process begins with prime ingredients that make up the taffy base. Some of our ingredients are no longer easy to find, they're uncommon in modern-day recipes, but they're the reason some of our flavors are so vibrant and unique. With the ingredients clearly printed on our box, it's the cooks who balance quantity and timing to make the perfect batch, as they evaluate the weather forecast, humidity, and temperature. The perfect batch of taffy is a moving target. We blend most of the ingredients and heat the taffy base slowly over a gas burner to a temperature determined by the weather. Some days we make softer taffy, some days it's stiffer, but the end result seems to always be just right for our customers. Until this point, the cooking process takes about 40 minutes. Once cooked, the dangerously hot batch is poured onto a refrigerated table that will evenly cool the base taffy in preparation for pulling. Pulling the taffy adds air to the dense candy, making it lighter and slightly chewy. We also add color, flavor, and special ingredients while it's pulling, which ensures a uniform blend throughout the mix. After about 20 minutes on the puller, the taffy is placed back onto the cooling table until the temperature is just right to run through the Model K kiss wrapper and cutting machine. Our Model K machine has been in continuous operation since the late 40s, which means this machine has cut and wrapped every piece of candy that all of our customers have eaten over the years. This pampered machine requires about an hour of service each day to run as well as it does. It is a real-life example of a well-oiled machine. At the end of the 2.5-hour cooking process, every piece of taffy is inspected before placing it in the taffy counter for sale. When we say our best taffy, we're talking about the taffy that is for sale in the counter today. There is no special stock or saved taffy. Every piece of taffy that you might buy is among our best available. In addition to sales in the store, we ship freshly packaged taffy across the United States every day to adoring customers that just can't wait for their next trip to Estes Park. Many generations of store employees have been an important part of the taffy shop experience for customers, but the business has always been a family operation. As the Slack family operated the store under Lowell's watchful eye for 8 decades, many birthdays, family milestones, and special occasions were celebrated in the mail room, behind the little door that Lowell built in the early days of the store. That door is a magical transition from the workstations of cooking, organizing, and shipping to the bright, cheery store that displays fresh, kiss-shaped taffy ready to go home with the next customer in a crisp white taffy box that has become an Estes Park icon. Customers regularly decline a sack to carry their taffy box, proudly carrying it under one arm, or knowing that they will just be peeling up the tape seal and opening the box to hand out fresh taffy to their family and friends once they're back on the sidewalk. In 2014, as the sole remaining member of the family, Lavona Slack made a difficult but timely personal decision and accepted an offer from an established local family to purchase the taffy shop. The new family cherished the history of the store and promised to preserve the recipe and experience that the taffy shop had delivered over 79 years of continuous operation in the same location. The 80th year presents new challenges, with other taffy peddlers lining the street trying to sell Estes Park taffy to unsuspecting customers, although an experienced visitor or local resident can tell you where to get the real thing.
If you came to Estes Park, the talk was you always went to the taffy shop and got a box of taffy.
I didn't even know what taffy was until I walked into this place, because I always thought it was that long, thin stuff in a wrapper or the really hard stuff in a wrapper. And then you walk in here and the Texas pecan tastes like divinity, and you just think you've died and gone to heaven. So it's just the best. And it's the only real taffy in Estes Park, made here in Estes Park.
It's the memories. And also the product is good. People would constantly come in and say, well, this is still the best taffy in the world.
This is historical because how many places have been around this long and stayed this long and kept the quality this long? So, we don't want to lose something like this.
I can't imagine Estes Park without this store. I would say it's just like stepping back in time to just a place that's charming and more innocent than, you just get a feeling of when America was a lot more innocent than it is right now.
It's like somebody you see and you haven't seen them in 20 years, and you see them and say, oh man, you haven't aged a bit. Type thing. Well, that's why the taffy shop is.
And it's just a part of what Estes Park is. And if you'll look around you, there are very few things that have stood the test of time like this place. You have McDonald's bookstore that's been here. You have Indian Village that's been here. But there have been things through the years that just come and go like water. They don't last a season, if they, in fact, an entire season. But this place is just kind of an institution.
I think you guys are fortunate to be in a position to carry on. And I think it's great that you want to carry on and keep it the same. It's just a part of Estes Park.
The original saltwater taffy is made from scratch at 121 West Elkhorn Avenue, one handmade batch at a time, in the Taffy Shop.